Hola! Today I will be reacting to Geography Now Brazil. I mean, I've already reacted to this video, but it was a long time ago. I feel like it was like 5 or 6 years ago, something like that. So I don't really remember it. And many people has been telling me, oh, you should definitely check out Geography Now Brazil. It's a very cool video. So yeah, let's just check it out. And it was super interesting. Look at that, look at that. Look how young he is. If you love this channel, if you're subscribed to this channel, you have watched some of his videos. Oh my God, bro, he looks so different. I mean, 9 years ago, that's crazy. He looks so different. He looks super young right here. Oh my God, this is cool. This is so cool. So yeah, I would say let's just check it out. Let's just check it out together. Let's go.
Hey Geography peeps, so Brazil is one of the largest countries in the world. Obviously, I won't be able to cover everything within about 10 minutes. I'll try to do my best, but
definitely, if you have any good recommendations to learn more about Brazil, let me know which video should I check out.
in the meantime, soccer, monkeys, Amazon, Ronaldo, and samba songs, capoeira.
What? What? Bro, what? Was that on purpose? Was that on purpose? Oh my God. Was that on purpose? Was that on purpose? I don't know. I don't know.
The largest countries in the world. Obviously, I won't be able to cover everything within about 10 minutes. I'll try to do my best, but in the meantime, soccer, monkeys, Amazon, Ronaldo.
Okay. I don't know. Okay. I don't know. I think that was done on purpose. I cannot believe that they made a mistake like that. Come on.
Oh, and samba songs, capoeira, anacondas, carnaval, and attractive people that kind of have like tan skin. Oh, come on, guys. You knew that was coming.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbie. I guess that's a thing now. And after weeks of anticipation, we finally finished the Brazil video. And you know how we start these things. Let's dissect the flag.
Oh, look how different it is.
The flag of Brazil has a green field with a yellow rhombus in the middle and a blue disc in the center with 27 stars scattered throughout the disc and the country's motto depicted on a white band sprawled across the blue disc. Some people might tell you that the green represents forests and yellow represents gold, but yeah, that's not really true. The green and yellow are actually inspired from the former imperial flag of Brazil, which was derived from two royal households.
By the way, I've reacted a couple of days ago to the Imperial Português. Oh my God. Go and check out that video. It was really great. I'm gonna link it at the end, but...
The green representing the House of Braganza for King Dom Pedro I, and the yellow for the House of Habsburg that his wife Maria Leopoldina came from. The blue disc and the stars are what make up the most fun part of this flag. Each star represents one of the 27 states of Brazil. Furthermore, they are all separated into 9 different constellations that you can typically see in the southern hemisphere. Straddling across the blue disc is a banner with the country's motto, Ordem e Progresso, which means order and progress. A flag with stars representing each state in the country. Ah, Brazil, I think there's some people that can gel well with that. Now here's where things get a little fun, because each section of Brazil kind of has its own little story. But first, Brazil is the largest country in the South American continent. If you grew up in Latin America, you would have been told that both South and North America are together one continent, but for pragmatic definitional reasons, we're just going to treat South America as a separate entity, as its own continent. Brazil's domain stretches all the way from the Atlantic coast and deep into the interior of the continent. Brazil is bordered by every single South American country except for Ecuador and Chile. You could also technically say that Brazil borders France. Why? Because of this little guy. French Guiana. That's right, this is not a country, but rather an overseas territory of France. It's okay, raise your hand if you just learned that. You're learning. The country's capital is the aptly named Brasilia, located slightly inland in the central west region of Brazil, and actually administers itself in its own federal district, much like Washington, D.C. Brasilia was actually built in 1960 as they were switching from the old capital, Rio de Janeiro.
Wait, what? Really? That's crazy. Why does this building look like a white PS3? Doesn't it look like a white PS3? Wait, let me look up if there's actually a white PS3. White PS3. Oh yeah, it is. There is. Standing. That one's standing. Oh, look. Tell me it's not. Come on, tell me it's not. Looks exactly like that. Look. It looks exactly like that, like a brick PS3. What the hell? That is so cool. Oh my God. Way to go. I love that.
That's right, it's pronounced Rio de Janeiro, not Rio de Janeiro. Get it right, we're not in Mexico, this is Portuguese.
I mean, bro, it depends. If you're speaking, I mean, I'm sure that many accents also in Portugal they will say Rio de Janeiro, no, instead of Rio de Janeiro. Yeah, yeah. Especially also the Imperial Portuguese that will be more like that, especially like the European Portuguese variant. So you're just saying about one side of the country, not all of it.
He's not Spanish. This was done in an attempt to provide a more regional neutrality for the rest of the states in Brazil by centralizing the capital. Brazil is divided into 27 federative units, 26 of which are states, and 1 federal district, which is where the capital resides. Each state and region...
Yeah, and I've only reacted to Serra Gaúcha, so I definitely need to react to more.
...of Brazil has their own unique flavor that they bring to the table, and we'll discuss more about that in the demographics, but essentially it kind of goes like this. We grow food. We got all the money. We are so black. We are so white. Stop cutting our trees. In terms of disputes, Brazil has 2 disputed areas with Bolivia on the Mamoré River and 2 disputed areas with Uruguay on the Uruguay River and in the Masoyero Rivera that nobody cares about. Funny backstory, Uruguay actually used to be part of Brazil, known as the Cisplatina province, yada yada yada. There was a war, they gained their independence. Brazil has a ton of islands off their coast, but the furthest reaches of the Brazilian domain would have to be the 4 island and archipelago chains in the Atlantic: Fernando de Noronha, the Rocas Atoll, the St. Peter and St. Paul Rocks, which is a non-permanent residence science lab station, and Trindade and Martin Vaz. Otherwise, the western mainland borders look kind of funny. If you look at the map, it kind of looks like Brazil has river Tourette syndrome, in which they have a lot of half rivers, but then they jump onto the next adjacent river, which is like a couple hundred kilometers away. It's like, I'll take part of the Rio Acre, but then, I'll cut through and make my way over to the Rio Puros. I'll take the Rio Santa Rosa, but then, I'll jump over to Rio Breo. This all had to do with centuries of disputes with the former empires, and today you have this massive piece of sovereign complexity. And that's just the borders. Wait till you see what's inside the borders. When you think of Brazil, everybody just kind of automatically defaults to one image: the Amazon. And yes, the Amazon is a very imperative factor to the nation's domain.
I think the first image that will come to my mind about Brazil will be the Cristo do Rio, no?
However, there's a lot more to it in terms of landscape and terrain. First of all, about 60% of the entire Amazon rainforest is located in Brazil, mostly in the north region, and of course, no surprise, consists of the most heavily compact ecoregion on Earth. Out of all the 10 million species of animals and insects known to human beings, about half of them call the Amazon rainforest home. Many of the species that have yet to be...
Oh my god, what is this? That's crazy! What the hell? Oh my god. I've never seen this frog. What the hell?
Discovered are still lingering about in the deep, uncharted depths of the Amazon today.
Oh, it's so cute. It's probably gonna kill me alive, but yeah. It's gonna probably eat me alive, but it's so cute.
Now, we all know that there's a huge deforestation problem going on in Brazil in the Amazon to provide more agricultural land. However, even Brazil's own citizens are harshly criticizing the action. It's a little tricky though, because with Brazil's rapidly growing population, more resources are demanded of the people. So it's kind of like, we get it, it's bad, but I mean, what do you want us to do? Our country is growing and we need to provide you people with more stuff. Use alternative methods! Like what? We're working on it! Otherwise, outside of the Amazon, the rest of the country has a vast array of contrasting scenery almost equally as fascinating. Along the coast, you have the Mata Atlântica, or the Atlantic Forest, the Cerrado, or the tropical savannas in the center. This is also the area where most farms and ranches can be found. Also, keep in mind, Brazil is one of the top countries in meat production and exports. In the south, you have the Araucaria, or the pine evergreen forest. In the north, you have the small mountains, especially close to the border of Venezuela, in which you can find one of the most notable natural landmarks being the tri-point border between Venezuela, Guyana, and Brazil, Mount Roraima, even though Brazil only owns about 5% of the mountain. But still, it counts. Roraima is one of the strangest looking flat-top plateau mountains with vertical cliffs almost perpendicular to the ground.
Is this actually a mountain? Doesn't look like a mountain at all.
It the label as one of the hardest mountains to climb. Fun side note, Mount Roraima was one of the areas that inspired the scenery for the Pixar movie Up, which is a great movie, by the way. Go ahead, watch it. And with that said, Pixar and Disney, you can't sue me for copyright infringement rights for using a clip of your movie in my corner box here, because in accordance with fair use limitation rights, I commented and gave a critique on your material. Just letting you know, you can't sue me. One of the most remarkably bizarre and unusual spots of the country, though, would have to be the famous flooded deserts of Lençóis Maranhenses. This place, located on the north coast of the Maranhão state, is almost alien ocean-like, as there are virtually no places like it on Earth. Essentially, it's a sand dune desert with abundant lagoons speckled throughout the entire region. Although it gets a lot of rainfall yearly, the area supports little vegetation and wildlife. Nonetheless, the area draws in thousands of tourists yearly as it contains the almost paradoxical juxtaposition of elements in its scenery. It's not every day that you see a flooded desert. All right, let's talk
Bro, yeah, and this sand is whiter than me. That's crazy.
about the Brazilian people. Biscoito, bolacha, biscoito, bolacha. Yeah, we'll explain what that means in a little bit. But first, now of course Brazil is incredibly diverse. Before we get into that little pie graph thingamajiglet that we always do here in the demographics section, I feel like it's very crucial to mention one important thing.
I wonder, does biscoito come from the Italian biscotto? Could be, you know, there's much inheritance from Italy in Brazil.
About Brazil's people. Now, everybody knows that one of the most dramatically unique traits of Brazil would have to be its people. When asked, what do you think a Brazilian looks like? The stereotype is somebody with a perfectly bronzed, toned body and with slight Germanic features. One reason why this stereotype has been perpetuated so extensively is because, in a strange way, it's kind of true. Over the course of a few hundred years since colonization, Brazil's population has actually virtually invented an entirely new race that never exactly existed before, and it makes up nearly half of the entire population. I'm talking about the Pardo people. Now, although the definition is vague and up for relative dispute, essentially this is the easiest way I can describe it. Pardo people are kind of like people that are either too white to be black or too black to be white, and there's probably a little bit of Amerindian in there. That being said, now let's jump into the pie graph. Brazil has about 202 million people, making it the fifth most populous country in the world, right behind Indonesia. About 47% of the people identify as white, about 43% identify as Pardo, about 8% are black, 1.5 Asian, and a very small portion, about 0.5% of the population, are Amerindian. Speaking of Asians, at about 1.5 million strong, Brazil is actually the country with the largest Japanese population outside of Japan. About 70% of whom live in the city of Sao Paulo. Asians have actually historically been migrating to Brazil for centuries. In terms of socio-regional distinctions, Brazil has quite the buffet of ethnic enclaves. For one, you can typically find more black people in the north, and especially in the Bahia state, where they make up over half of the entire population. This is also the area where you can disputably find some of the best capoeira masters in the world, as it is believed to have originated in this area. In the south, and more specifically in the Rio Grande do Sul state, you have one of the largest white populations in the entire country, with immigrants coming from places like Germany, Italy, and the Netherlands. In fact,
I mean, it also makes sense if you think about Uruguay and Argentina having most of the people white, and they are in like bordering that region of that state. Is it state or region? He said state. I don't know if it's actually. I'm gonna say state, but if it's wrong, correct me. That state of Brazil, bordering that state.
Many of these places have remained relatively untouched by the rest of Brazil, and many of the communities still retain the mother language of the country the members of the community came from. Oh, and there's a joke in Brazil that nobody has met anybody from the state of Acre. It's so far and secluded that you may as well just call it North Bolivia. It's mine, Brazil! Nope, too bad, we won it in the war, it's still ours, deal with it. And of course you have the various native tribal groups. There are about 240 tribes that a little over 900,000 people claim to be a part of ethnically. The government has recognized 690 territories and reservations for these various people groups that make up about 13% of the entire country's landmass, nearly all of it localized in the Amazon rainforest. Brazil's governmental agency for tribal peoples has a list of about 80 uncontacted tribal groups that deliberately choose to remain disconnected from the rest of the world. The governmental agency speculates that there are still many unnamed, undiscovered tribes currently living in the vast, uncharted forests of the Amazon. Culture-wise, it really depends on where you are in Brazil, but everybody knows that Brazil kind of has a very vibrant way that they carry themselves out to the rest of the world. The center of culture, disputably, being Rio de Janeiro, and the economic capital being Sao Paulo. Most of the population lives within driving distance of the coasts, so there is, in a sense, a prevalent beach culture, especially for the people on the east side of the country. Not everybody in Brazil loves soccer. In fact, many places prefer basketball, and skateboarding has actually been a huge thing that's been exploding over the past few years. And no, not everybody has been to a carnival. Oh, and another thing, there's currently a war going on in Brazil. It's been very brutal. It's been going on for decades, and it's getting quite intense right now. I'm talking about the cookie war. In Brazil, people will ridicule you if you pronounce the word for cookie differently from them, and especially it's a whole Rio versus Sao Paulo thing. People in Sao Paulo will call it bolacha, and the people in Rio will call it biscoito. This conflict has led to the violence and deaths, leading in the victimization of people caught in the crossfire, and you almost fell for it, didn't you? Now let's talk about their relationships.
Well, I want to know that the Brazilian inside joke. Can you explain it to me?
Now, Brazil kind of gets along with everyone, but he's kind of like that friend that ventures off and does whatever he wants while you wait in the hallway until he comes back from doing whatever he's doing. First off, pretty much all of their neighbor nations get along with them, although Argentina has a huge competitive hatred for Brazil when it comes to soccer. But all that aside, they have good relations and trade policies. Then, just like I mentioned before in the Angola video, they get along with other nations of the former Portuguese Empire like Angola, Mozambique, São Tomé and Príncipe, Cabo Verde, and so on. They even get along with Portugal and have no bitterness towards the former colonization. Now, when it comes to the US, for centuries they've been good friends and have a deep history of trade and alliances. However, recently Brazil has been kind of diddle-doddling off making friends with other people that kind of give the US the old shifty eye. Then we have Venezuela and Cuba. Brazil has sided with the Venezuelan government more in the past few decades and has built a $1.5 billion port in Cuba. Then we have Iran.
What?
Recently, Brazil has been
had no
testing the waters
idea.
on attempting to build ties with them, although they haven't really improved much recently. Nonetheless, Brazil is quite the popular guy. Not many people dislike Brazil, except for maybe the Brazilians in Brazil that may complain about their own country's administrative affairs, but that's a lesson you'll have to learn by talking to an actual Brazilian person, not me. Plus, we're almost out of time. In conclusion, Brazil is so much more than just the Amazon and soccer, and we didn't even scratch the surface of Brazil in this video. And to find out more, I recommend just talk to a Brazilian. Just remember which side of the cookie you're on. Stay tuned, Brunei is coming up next.
So which side of the cookie are you on? Which side? Biscoito or bolacha? That was super interesting. I had no idea about that dispute. So yeah, I mean, I feel like there's so much to learn. I mean, I created this channel to learn more. First of all, to improve my Portuguese. So that's why I'm reacting to many videos where Portuguese is being spoken to learn new vocabulary, learn new grammatical rules while still having fun and sharing with you. And then I want to also, of course, learn more about the culture of Brazil, its history, Portugal, even other, I mean, mostly I will be reacting to Portugal and Brazil on this channel, but definitely I want to learn more about the former colonies of Portugal in this channel, like Angola, Mozambique, Cabo Verde, and yeah, and many more, São Tomé and Príncipe. It will be very interesting, you know. I want to try and do something very cool to learn more about history, culture, you know, whatever is going on in these countries, and that will help me definitely improve my Portuguese in the process. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any more recommendations for me to watch, you know, some videos for me to watch about Brazil, let me know which one in the comments. See you soon.